Sairam students, I hope all of you are doing good. Let's begin with a new lesson of your textbook, First Flight, and the name of the lesson is The Sermon at Benares. And the source is Betty Renshaw, Values and Voices, a College Reader. Introduction, let us see what the lesson is all about. The sermon at Benares throws light upon the early life of Lord Buddha, who was originally born as a prince in the royal family. On being exposed to the sufferings of the world which he was earlier shielded from, he left his princehood and went in search of salvation, thus leaving all the worldly pleasures behind. So yes, he was born as a prince, but then he saw something which forced him to give up his princehood and go in search of salvation. Upon attaining spiritual awakening, he gave his first sermon in the city of Benares, hereby making a lady named Kisa Gothami realize that men are mortal and a wise person should not grieve at what is bound to happen, for it only enhances pain and suffering. So let's get started with the lesson. Just keep a book and a pen handy to jot down the meaning of the hard words and the important points. Okay, so let's start. Gautam Buddha, 563 BC to 483 BC, began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam in northern India. So like I told you, yes, he was born as a prince, and his initially he was called Siddhartha Gautam. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. So when he was 12 years old, he was sent for schooling to study the sacred Hindu scriptures. What is the meaning of sacred? Sacred is embodying the laws and doctrines of a religion. And what is scriptures? What are scriptures? The sacred writing of a religion. So he was at the age of 12, he was sent to study the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later he returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. So what is befitted? Is it to be appropriate for? Okay, so they both, the prince and the princess, they had a son and they lived a very royal life. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So when he was 25 years old, okay, heretofore means before now, okay, all this while he was shielded from the sufferings of the world. He didn't know about sorrows, he didn't know about sufferings. Okay, but when he went out for hunting, he chanced upon means came across by chance. And what all did he come across? He came across a sick man, an aged man, a funeral procession, and a monk begging for alms, begging for charity, begging for money, food. Okay. So here I have an image for all of you. The 4 things that he saw: an old man, a funeral procession, a sick man, and a monk asking for alms. These sights so moved him that he once became a beggar and went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. So, on seeing this, he was touched, he was moved, and then he decided he'll give up his worldly desires and he went out into the world to seek enlightenment. What is enlightenment? Enlightenment is basically a state of high spiritual knowledge. And why did this happen? Just because he had witnessed sorrow. He had experienced, he had seen something which made him very sad. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. Enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi Tree, tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. So he wandered, he moved here and there without a fixed course. So he was wandering here and there for 7 years. And finally he sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed, where he promised to stay until enlightenment came. And he was enlightened after 7 days. And he renamed the tree as the Bodhi Tree, the tree of wisdom. And then he began to teach and share his new understandings. Whatever he understood about life, he started to teach others. And this is the Bodhi tree, the peepal tree under which he sat. At that point, he became known as the Buddha, the awakened or the enlightened. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. So at that point of time when he got enlightenment, he was known as Buddha, the awakened or the enlightened. And then he preached. What is the meaning of preach? To deliver a religious address to group of people. So he preached his first sermon. What's a sermon? When you talk on a religious topic or a moral subject, that's a sermon. So, and where did this happen? In the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places. Dipping is, where people take bath. Okay, so places on river Ganga. And that sermon is preserved and is given in this lesson. And this sermon reflects Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable. What's inscrutable? Something which cannot be understood. And that kind of suffering he speaks about in this lesson. Kisa Gothami had an only son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, "She has lost her senses. The boy is dead." At length, Kisa Gothami met a man who replied to her request, "I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can." So here in this sermon, he speaks about Kisa Gothami, who had, she had only one son who passed away. And in this grief, in this sorrow, what she did was, she carried the dead child to her neighbor's house. Everywhere she went asking for medicine, a medicine that could bring life to her dead child. And what did people say? People said that she had lost her senses, she had gone mad. The boy is dead. How can he be alive? At length, then what happened? After some time, Kisa Gothami met a man who replied to her request. When she asked for medicine, he said, I cannot give thee medicine. I cannot give thee. Thee is, I cannot give you any medicine for thy child. Thy is your child. But I know a physician who can. But I know someone, who can help you out. And the girl said, Pray tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, Go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha. Kisa Gothami repaired to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So when this man said, okay, I cannot give you any medicine for your dead child, but I can tell you about a physician who can help you out. And she felt good and she said, who is that person? Tell me, who is that man? Who is that person who can help me? So what did that man say? He said, go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha. Immediately what happened? Kisa Gothami repaired. Repaired over here means she went to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So she said, give me the medicine. Okay, that will cure my boy. The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent or friend. So Buddha answered, okay, fine, I'll help you out, but get me a handful of mustard seed. And the girl was very happy. Okay, it's just mustard seeds. I can go and fetch them from any house. That's easy. But then what happened? And when the girl in her joy promised to procure is to get it, Buddha added, he added something. And what was that? The mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent or a friend. Okay, when she was about to leave, Buddha said, okay, now there's a catch to this. And what was that? You can get the mustard seed, but from a house where the house has not witnessed death. Nobody in that house has passed away. Neither a child, husband, friend, nor a parent. So, let us see what Kisa Gothami does. Does she go to every house asking for the mustard seeds? Does she find a house where she gets mustard seeds? So all these things we will see in our next class. Okay students, we'll stop here for today. So what have we seen in this class is Gautam Buddha, who was born as a prince. He gave up his worldly pleasures in search of enlightenment. Then we also read about Kisa Gothami, who lost her only child. He passed away. And she went to every house asking for a medicine, to which a man said that he knew about a physician who could help her out. And who was that man? He was none other than Gautam Buddha. She immediately went to him and asked him for a medicine that would bring life to her dead son. He said he will. And then he asked her to get a handful of mustard seeds. So that is where we stopped. And let's continue this lesson in the next class. Until we meet next students, you will take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Sai Ram. Bye bye.